All right, in this video, we are going to walk through how to do an inventory movement in a directed pick and put away location with lot warehouse tracking turned on through a Business Central workflow for a quality inspection test. So to get everything started, we're going to start with the Quality Inspector setup. On the Quality Inspector setup, we have in the receiving section an automation to create a test whenever the warehouse receipt is posted. Now, additionally, in the inventory section, we choose which batch we want to use. So this, in this example, we're going to be using a directed pick and put away location. So we're going to be using the warehouse reclassification batch. If your location isn't directed pick and put, then you can just use a normal item reclassification journal. All right, and this is the batch that will be used for any of the movement dispositions for reclass for the workflow, for Quality Inspector, or also for the disposition for Power Automate. All right, so the next step is to have the test itself. So we're going to create our test plan with this quality inspection template. And in our example, for this receipt, we're collecting a few basic questions. So we have a visual state, a weight, a color, a length, and a height. Pretty easy test to create. Additionally, we have a test generation rule. So this is what defines, or this is what tells the system which template to use under which circumstances. All right, so in our Quality Inspector setup, we told the system we want to create a test on receipt, and this test generation rule is telling us the circumstances. So we're going to create a test generation rule, and we're just going to add no filters for now. So this is effectively saying anytime I'm purchasing anything, regardless of the item, then create a test. Now, if you do want to receive, or if you want to have a test for a specific item, you just need to put in the item on the condition filter here, and you can filter basically on any field in the system, right? So you could even filter based on item category code, or if you needed to, filter based on the vendor item number, then you could do that as well. All right. Now, the item we're going to use in our test is also lot warehouse tracked. And this is to let us use the bin contents any directed pick and put away location, which is the typical configuration when you're using directed pick and put with lot numbers. So I created one that was very similar to our standard Ethernet cable. It's just the same configuration, and the only difference is that we have a lot warehouse tracking code, which is really just configured with all of the lot flags, but specifically this lot warehouse tracking flag. All right, so we've got lot warehouse tracking on for this item. So now we're ready to go with our test. So let's create a purchase order. So we'll close out of here. So we're going to create a purchase order in the system. We're going to click New. We're going to choose the grass blue. We'll choose our item to purchase. So we'll see it's coming from the standard Cronus white location, which is a directed pick and put. And we're going to go for a baker's dozen of 13. All right. So I have the purchase order. We're going to release it. We're going to create our warehouse receipt. Now at this point in time, we still don't have that test, right? Now in the real world, you'd be using something like WMS Express or Warehouse Insight to fulfill this receipt on scanning guns. For this demo, we're just going to be filling it in manually, but you can have improved receipt processes by using barcodes. So we're going to instead fill it in manually, and let's just choose 2304 Today's date is the 21st, 10:18 a.m. All right, and we'll put in the full 13. Okay, so now we're going to post this receipt. And what should happen is when we post the receipt, it should create that quality inspection test for us automatically. All right, and we see that it created a put away for us because that's how our location is configured. Now, we're going to be showing in this example how to have the inventory moved automatically. However, you can also move it manually just with an action here called move inventory, and you can either move a specific quantity or the full quantity. So let's say that you received perhaps 100 of a unit, but you only needed to quarantine a certain amount, perhaps 10 out of that lot. Then you could just put that 10 inside of here. And if you needed to quarantine the entire batch, then you could just move the entire lot serial, and then regardless of which bin it happens to be in, it'll just pull that entire quantity out of all of the bins that it happens to be in. Again, assuming that you have lot warehouse tracking turned on, and it will move it into that destination bin. Now, for lot tracked items, you really should have lot warehouse tracking turned on if you're in a directed pick and put away location. If you're not in a directed pick and put away location, you can still use this functionality. Typically, you're just changing to a location though, right? So in that case, you might have a quarantine location inside of Business Central, and that's fine as well, as long as you're not moving between, a directed pick and put and a non-directed pick and put location. In which case, you'd have to use a transfer order. Okay, so we have our quality inspection test. Now we need to post our put away. So we're going to go to our put away. We're going to find our put away that just got created. And we're going to see that this put away is taking it from that receiving bin and putting it into this other bin, W-05-006. Okay, so we're going to register that put away, and now those bin contents are in the location that we're trying to put from. So now we're going to review what happens when the quality inspection test passes. So to have something like a transaction move as soon as the test is passed, we're going to use a Business Central workflow for this. So we're going to navigate to workflows. We're going to create a new workflow. And we're going to call this move to bin, move to another bin. And we'll put this in our quality inspection examples. So what we're going to say is when the test has finished and the state is a pass. I mean, you could use any other state. You could do the opposite. You could move it to a discard bin or a quarantine bin if you so chose. We're just going to say, in our case, pass, because we're going to assume that we've received it into a quarantine location, or so we've received it into a receiving bin, we've put it away into a quarantine location, and now we want to move it out of that quarantine location as soon as it's passed. All right, so when it's finished and it's passed, then we're going to move the inventory that's from that test. Now you're going to notice that these options are very similar to the manual option that you have. The one difference is that even though you do have a specific quantity option here, typically you would be moving the entire lot under this circumstance, right? So we'd be moving the entire lot in this case. We're still in the white location, and we're going to move it from that bin to, so our quarantine location was a different bin. It was W-005. So we're going to move it to this first bin that we see in the white location. We're not going to post it immediately. We're just going to create the journal entries for now. And we're going to choose OK. And then we're going to enable it. All right, so now we're saying that whenever this quality inspection test has passed and we've finished it, it's going to automatically move that inventory. Okay, so now let's go record that test. So we're going to record this test inside of the Business Central phone app. All right. So using this app, we're actually using a special role center for Business Central. So this is the normal Business Central phone application. And all we're doing is we're just using a role center that happens to be optimized for the phone. All right, you can use the normal role center. We've also got another one for tablets, but it's all the same net effect. The phone one just happens to have a layout that's a little bit more optimized for this activity. All right, so we are going to take this test. Now, the first thing we're going to do is we're just going to pick it up. So we're going to assign this test to ourselves. And what you can notice is on this view, we can now see that these tests are all assigned to me. So I can, assign it to or unassign it from myself. I can give it to somebody else or things of that nature. But right now we've just assigned it to ourselves. So there's our test. It's assigned to us, and we're now going to start filling in the values. So we're going to choose a visual state. It has no marks. For our weight, we've recorded it as 23. Our color is blue. Our length is, let's say, 23 again, and our height is 56. Now, once we've recorded it, this has now entered the past state, but you'll notice that it's still open. All right, so at this point in time, there's still no journal entry for the movement. And this is to allow a quality inspector to edit their values before they decide to finish it. So what we're going to do now is we're going to finish this test. So we're going to finish the test. Are you sure you want to finish it? And as soon as we click yes, it's at this point in time that behind the scenes, it's going to create that journal entry. So let's go see what it did. So we're going to navigate back to Business Central. And we're going to find that same warehouse reclassification journal, which is default. And then we see here that it moved our item, or it created a movement journal from that bin to the bin that we chose inside of that Business Central workflow. So that is an end-to-end example of how to use receiving, where we received in a directed pick and put away location with lot warehouse tracking. We received it into our receive bin, we put it away into our quarantine bin, and then once the test passed, we moved it from our quarantine bin to another bin.
Hey, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel for more great content.